Dr. Vivek Modi is a qualified doctor with his MBBS degree. He has a postgraduate diploma in administration. He has 5 years of working experience as a hospital administrator and COO in reputed corporates. He is in the field of training for more than 7 years. Now certified as a trainer from the world-renowned Dale Carlinge Training. Dr. Modi is a much sought after corporate trainer and a keynote speaker. I request Dr. Modi to take over.
Post lunch time is the best time to sleep. But I remember one, and I am directly coming without any formalities, directly beginning. In the interest of time. Recently, Anupam Kher appeared on Aapki Adalat. How many of you watch that Hindi serial, Aapki Adalat? It comes on the Rajat Sharma show. Okay, some of you do. So in Aapki Adalat, he said some very interesting true incident about his life, which was involving him and Amitabh Bachchan. He said we were shooting in Chennai. And it was hot. Chennai is anyways hot, but it was the summer time, and I had gained the popularity. The success was catching me. It was in my head, and I started demanding, acting like a star. So Anupam Kher said, I was very dejected that the room where we were sitting, it did not have AC and it was very, very hot. And then I was showing my anger to the people who were managing all the things there. And then I saw Amitabh Bachchan sitting in a corner in the room and quietly with a shawl, because that was his makeup, sitting there and reading some book. And Amitabh Bachchan was of course a bigger name. So he was wondering, what is this Amitabh sitting silently in so hot? So he went to Amitabh Bachchan expecting some attention. He went and asked Amitabh Bachchan, Sir ji, garmi nahi lagti kya? Aren't you feeling hot? How hot it is? Amitabh quietly looked at him and said something wonderful. He told, गर्मी के बारे में सोचता हूँ तो लगती है, नहीं सोचता हूँ तो नहीं लगती. And he started working. If I think of this heat, I feel hot, otherwise I don't. So if you feel you are going to sleep, the sleep is going to come. If you don't think of it, it is not going to come. Why this topic called personal power? The quality of our life, and this is a deep statement, please try to comprehend it and understand it. The quality of our life depends upon how we are within ourselves throughout our life. The quality of our life depends upon how we are within ourselves throughout our life. Not how you are outside, not how you are perceived, but how you are within yourself when you are alone, when nobody is watching, or otherwise also how do you feel within yourself. That is the which actually matters in the life, which decides the quality of life. The old scene, you have seen this very old story of the great Alexander, the world conqueror Alexander. When he was leaving from India, he was supposed to take one realized monk with him as a gift to his guru, Aristotle, or what you call Arastu. In Hindi we used to call Arastu. So here is the world conqueror Alexander standing with all his might all the people shouting behind, Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great. And he goes there and he finds in the jungle one monk sitting naked. Alexander goes there and says, stops there, looks at the monk and says, "Oh my dear monk, I want to take you with me to present to my guru." This man who was a monk lying naked there says, "I am not interested." The whole army is shouting, "Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great." The monk starts laughing and looks at Alexander and saying, "Do you have some doubt about your greatness?" Nobody ever spoke like that to Alexander. Suddenly, Alexander became quiet, everybody became quiet, and monk went on, "If you do not have a doubt about your greatness, why so many people have to shout behind you, Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great?" So Alexander got the point. Everybody was quiet now. So Alexander told, "I am supposed to take you with me. Please come with me." The monk said, "No, I don't come." So the people surrounding Alexander, they told, "You know who he is? He is the Alexander, the world conqueror. He is not used to listen no from anyone. He doesn't take a no." The monk said, "He may be whatever, but I am also a king and I don't listen anyone." See here, Alexander, who was having the whole army, he is telling to a naked monk to go, and naked monk is simply saying, "I am also a king and I don't want to go with you." And those people again said, "I think you do not love your life. Don't you know to whom you are talking? You have the audacity to talk like that to the great Alexander?" Again the monk said, "The great Alexander, why do you keep this adjective in front of your name? You definitely have the doubt." "I have no doubt. I am the great and I am not interested. And I also don't take anybody's command." Now this incident left a mark in Alexander's mind, because he was feeling unfulfilled even after winning so much of the land throughout the world. And he thought, here in this land, a monk says, who is lying naked, who has nothing, he says, "I have everything, I am the king and I don't listen and I am not scared a bit." Alexander went with this sense of guilt from India, that somewhere I might have won the world outside me, but world inside me, I am still nowhere. Now this is what about the personal power is, and why I am calling personal power, why it is so important for youth here is, because it is not the outside challenges, it is not the outside challenges which are going to stop you from achieving what you want. It's always the inner weakness. It is always the inner weakness which stops us to let us get our goals. Why do we need so? If it is inner strength, why do I have to tell you? Now here I was reading a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, if you have heard of him. He is a spiritual guru, and he writes this book with a beautiful incident in the beginning. He says there was a beggar who sat in a busy market. For years together he used to sit on a box and beg. After some 12-15 years have passed, one day one gentleman came and asked him, "What do you have in this box? I always see you are sitting in this box, on this box and asking, begging money." So the beggar says, "Nothing. When I came, when I was a small child, this was a dirty box. Nothing is there inside. I just put one cloth on it and I sit on it. It is like my chair." So the man says, "If you want money today, I will give you money, but you have to open this box and show me what is there inside." The beggar says, "I am sure there will be filth and dirt inside, but if you are interested, I have no problem." So man takes a stone, he breaks the old rotten lock and opens up the box, and to his surprise he finds in the box there is gold, jewelry, money. It's filled with the wealth. And this beggar thinks, "I was the richest man in the world, at least in this city I was the richest man, and I spent my lifetime, 15 years of my life I spent in begging like a beggar. I could have been the richest man." So this is what is the story of us. Often we are trying to look outside in the world, somebody should help me, some degree, something which will take my life or which will make my life great or which will give me power, whereas the power lies within. And we completely miss this perspective and go on running in the race of the life, and often in our late 60s and 70s realize, I wish my hands were working, I wish my legs were working, I wish my eyes were working. When we have missed everything, we try to realize it, like that beggar. And that's why this point, you cannot teach a man anything, you can only help him find it within himself. Galileo Galilei says, you cannot teach a man anything, you only can help him find it within himself or herself. So in today's session, what I am going to discuss is about few principles where we decide this personal power. Okay? Next. What makes the black balloon fly? It's a very popular story, long back, it has come into many books. A black boy in America, those days there used to be a discrimination, even today it exists at some places, among blacks and whites. Blacks were denied their basic rights. Everywhere whites got preference. So one black boy, he was dejected with his life, looking at every place I have to suffer, every place the white boy gets the privilege, every place why I am not getting my right. And looking at that, he started losing a sense of confidence in himself. So one day he goes to a beach, he sees a balloon vendor there who was, in order to attract the customers, was flying balloons. And this boy got very interested and looking at those balloons. So the balloon vendor releases one white balloon, it goes up because of the gas inside it. Then it releases another color balloon. Like that, few balloons are released. The boy becomes very anxious and he is waiting for the balloon to be released. But the black balloon is not released. So he goes to the vendor and he says, uncle, if you release this black balloon, will it also go the same height? Because he has in his psyche that doubt that I am a black, I am not good enough. And the balloon vendor, who was a very learned man, he just leaves a black balloon, it goes to the high, and he says to that boy that my son, it is not what is the outside which will take you to the heights, it is what is inside which is going to take you to the heights. So it doesn't matter, it is black, brown, red, white, what it is, but it is what is inside which is going to take us height. How many of us pay attention to what is going in my life inside? We do not have time in today's life. We do not have time in today's life to pay attention to what is happening in our life. Let me give you this example. All of you, can you keep your back straight once? Back straight, come on. The back of your back and the back of chair, if it doesn't touch, it will be for some time. Come on. The back of your back and the chair's back. Don't let it touch. Make a V, victory. Okay. You know, if we do not develop this ability to pay attention on right things, it causes problems. Have you heard this recent very popular joke on WhatsApp? Listen the perspective. Once, you are all from first year or second year? You are in a PG? Both, okay. So first year graduate, remember your graduation days, first year, first day, anxiety, you are good boys and good girls, very obedient, you pay attention to whatever professor says, right? You do not want to offend anyone. So like that in a medical college, all the students, the fresher batch came very anxious, and they all go to the college. On day one, the biochemistry professor says, I am going to take you to the lab, and all of you, today you are going to have one of the most important lesson of your life. So they say, okay, let's go to the lab. After going to the lab, the professor says, there is a beaker in front of you, all of you please go to the toilet, fill your own urine into this beaker and come back as I do the same. So everybody goes to the toilet. It was little weird, but they thought medical college, we must be doing something funny. So they went to the toilet, got their urine filled into the beaker and came. Now professor said, very important lesson, do as I do, okay? So they told, okay, so watch me, what I am doing, you are going to repeat it behind me. Professor puts his finger into the urine, dips his finger into the urine, then puts his finger into the mouth. And he says, all of you please do as I did. All of them were little taken aback. What is this he doing? And they thought, anxious, first year, good boys, they obey. So they also did, they thought, after all it's my own urine, let me do it. So they did it. Now professor said, so friends, this is called urine test. Again these people were surprised, urine test? I thought this is urine taste, not urine test. So now professor says, okay, tell me friends, what are findings? Again a weird question, what findings in tasting own urine? So one student, because he is a good boy, he does not want to offend professor, so he says, my finding is urine tastes bitter. Professor said, no my dear friends, you are missing the point. See, when I took this beaker in my hand, I dipped my index finger into the urine, but when I put it into my mouth, it was my middle finger. So you have missed the point, you have all tasted your urine. So they were like, oh, we missed, how foolish we are. Then professor says, the lesson of today's class is, if you do not pay attention, you will have bitter experiences in life. If you do not pay attention, you will have bitter experiences in life. This is the ability to pay attention on the right thing. It's not the outside but the inside. Can I put my focus in my inner world to correct my outer world? If I do not have this simple discipline to see within, to correct my outer side, I will often have bitter experiences like those medical students. Wait, who is this guy? Just wait. Can you identify him? Who is he? Come on, raise your hand. How many of you know this person? Do you know or not? One? Only two? What's his name? That's what I am asking. Okay, he is an actor of Mask. Okay, who is he? Jim Carrey. Okay, he is Jim Carrey. Okay, so I thought more youth will identify him very easily. Okay, afternoon time, Bodhmayananda ji had shown so many weird pictures. All those people who showed exemplified personal power, you might not have recognized them. I thought this, everybody should rise and say, he is Jim Carrey, that favorite hero, that hero of Mask who makes everybody laugh, right? Really good actor, great actor. Recently, he delivered a talk, a commencement speech in one of the colleges. In that, he said few lines. He is moving towards spirituality now. So he said few lines which are really profound. Now I don't know it is his lines or he has taken it from somewhere, but they are really profound. Can you please go to the next? Please pay attention to these lines. Like you, I was concerned that I want to go out in the world and do something bigger than myself, until someone smarter than myself made me realize that there is nothing bigger than myself. Who is saying this? Jim Carrey, the Hollywood guy. I want to go out in the world and do something bigger than myself, and then I realize actually there is nothing bigger than myself. This is a realization we need to have. If we have this self-power perspective, then you don't need to beg for a job or anything else, because you become self-oriented. From object-oriented to self-oriented. My success comes from my objects to my success comes from me within. Simple perspective change changes the life. It's not the knowledge, it's the perspective. In Jain philosophy, there are three things. It is called three ratnas. Samyak Gyan, Samyak Darshan, Samyak Charitra. Samyak Gyan, Samyak Darshan, perspective, Samyak Charitra. Gyan is knowledge. Of course, you have a lot. You are all PG students. Samyak Darshan, this many people lack. Perspective has to be there. If the context of the life is not correct, the content is not actually useful. And of course, Samyak Charitra, about the character, we all know. So, please understand, the perspective correction has to happen, not the knowledge. You all have enough knowledge. You also have the remedies of your issues. At this stage, in fact, you would be advising some of the people, your younger ones, your colleagues, your friends, what is going to work in their life and what is not. You are all yourself aware in the heart of your heart that what is that one thing in my life which if I stop doing, I am going to develop. What is that one thing in my life if I start doing, my life is going to change positively. We are all aware in the heart of the heart. Then what is not working? Knowledge is there. Then why we are not changing? Because perspective is not there. What happened in Mahabharata? Why Arjuna refused to fight? Was there any problem of the knowledge or skills? Arjuna was the greatest warrior of that time. Krishna did not teach him, this is how you should hold a bow and arrow, this is how you should fire. No. Arjuna was the best. But still he became the weak because he lost the connection, he lost the perspective. He forgot to pay attention on the right thing. And that's why bitter experiences, he became weak. The personal power was there, but he was not ready to see it. And Krishna just did one thing by transferring that Bhagavad Gita. He changed his perspective. He told, you are not going to kill anyone. You are going to protect dharma. This is your perspective. And once the perspective was corrected, the warrior in the Arjun was resurrected. All of you who have the knowledge, it's not the knowledge, mere knowledge, only knowledge. Samyak Gyan is important. It's change the life. It's not going to help until unless the perspective changes. And what's the perspective? What are the five or what are the points I am going to mention which are going to bring this power? Who next? Okay. So I am going to tell about some principles. 4 principles. What does this image suggest? How do you get this? Okay, I have spoken something about personal power, why it is important. I have given you the perspective idea. I am going a little fast, but I want to run through these things and then I want to discuss something. Some principles are there. Those people who display this inner power, they follow, knowingly or unknowingly, they follow this principle. First principle is called, what title can you give to this picture? Come on. What title can you give to this picture? What is this? Come on, you can try, it's okay. Trust, yes. Bang on. Trust, faith. Okay, it's about faith. Having faith. In whom? Faith in whom? Faith in yourself. How to get the faith in ourselves? You know, here it's a very interesting situation. See, Swami Vivekananda, whenever he found himself into a challenging situation, he just remembered his master and his master guided him. Okay, or Shardani, and she guided him. Arunima Sinha, who climbed that Mount Everest, the first amputee to climb Mount Everest, whenever she had that fear, she saw the picture of Swamiji Vivekananda and she got the courage and she started moving after looking at that picture. Okay, there are many such incidents where great people somehow develop a mechanism to derive the strength from the object. Now here there is a contradiction. At one place I believe in personal power. Another place I am telling you, have faith in something. Have faith in something. Swamiji also, Bodhmayananda ji also told, that Vivekananda has told, you must have an idol. A man with an idol will, if he does 1,000 mistakes, the man without an idol will do 10,000 mistakes. So then, if we are choosing someone, or if we are holding our faith on something, of course faith on ourselves, but through something, then is it not contradictory that you are telling us to believe in God? God will protect you, then it's not me, it's the God. It's not Vivekananda, but it's Sri Ramakrishna. It's not Arunima Sinha, but it's Vivekananda. And you all will have your own mechanism. So what am I asking here? One place I am telling you, have faith on yourself. Another place I am telling you, find an object of faith which gives you the power. Can anyone explain why I am telling it in personal power? Come on, you are all postgraduate guys, you should be able to make it out. How holding your faith on something denotes to personal power? That's the question. Few kids get together, one Muslim boy, one Hindu boy, one Christian boy. Now they are kids, they are playing. The Muslim boy says, you know, Allah is the most powerful. The Hindu boy says, you know, Mahesh, Shiva is the most powerful. He is the person who has the most power. You know, or Krishna or Rama. Hindus can say so many anyways. And Christ, the Christian guy said, you know, Christ is the most powerful God. Tell me who is right? Who is more powerful? Controversial question, is it? Is it a controversial question? Why so many temples? Why so many objects of faith? Who is the most powerful? Let's do a meta-analysis and get to one point, and why not all pray to that? It's a very, very tough question. Can anyone answer it? Come on. Yes, ma'am, please.
It is the faith that is most powerful. It is the faith.
And not the object of faith. Wonderful. Please give her a big hand. It is not your object on which you are holding your faith which is going to take you to the places. It's your faith in the object. It's your faith in the object. It could be anything. It could be a stone. It could be your mother. It could be father. It could be a frame. It could be anything. It could be an imaginary figure. But if you say my faith in that thing is complete, it is ultimately your faith. It's not the object of your faith. It is your faith in the object which gives you the power, and that is why I am telling it in personal power. Ability to hold the faith is in you. Hanuman became so powerful holding his faith in the Rama. Rama could not fly and make that bridge, or Lanka. We need a bridge for him. Hanuman could do it just by uttering name of Rama. His faith was so powerful in the Rama that he gained his power by the faith. So it's not the object of your faith, it's your faith in the object. You got to hold on to some mechanism, some faith, some person, some idea which should give you this unquestionable faith. And if you can hold to that, Arunima Sinha was literally dead. When if you know Arunima Sinha, how many of you have heard the name of Arunima Sinha? Come on, raise your hands. Okay, you have heard, a lot of you have heard. So those of you who have not heard, Arunima Sinha is the first amputee girl to win Mount Everest, who was thrown from a running train by some goons for refusing to give her gold chain. And she lost her leg, another leg, there were multiple fractures. There was fracture in her hand, her back was fractured. In 2 years, the girl bounced back, and it's a heroic story, better than any thriller movie. If you read her book called Born Again in the Mountain, better than any thriller movie. She bounces back within 2 years and goes to win the Mount Everest, the first woman amputee to win Mount Everest. First amputee itself, women or men, nobody has done earlier. And she said, there was a point at Himalaya when she was climbing, which is called Death Zone, where she found lot of dead bodies, and a person died right in front of her when she was climbing. And at that moment, she started losing it. started questioning, am I going into the right direction or not? Should I take the step or not? And then she told, no, I am going to go. Kept looking at Vivekananda's picture, I am going to go, I am going to go. Then there came a point when she reached a place called Hilary Step. From there, just 2-3 hours and you are done. And there comes the Sherpa behind her running and say, Arunima, let's go back. Your oxygen cylinder suggests you might go up, but you are not going to come back. So now, if you want to achieve the goal of your life for which you have struggled for 2 years, if you say, yes, I am going to go, you are literally saying, I am going to die. Because you might reach up, you might get the goal, you will win the Mount Everest, but you won't come back. The oxygen will be gone. And there, Arunima says, I am going to go. Even if I die, I am going to go. And she does it. She achieves. And when she was coming back, the oxygen was over. She fell down. She was panting for breath. At that height, it was almost impossible for her to save. The oxygen cylinder could not have come. But look at the miracle. Who was going up, he saw the time is 10:30-11. At that time, nobody goes on the Mount Everest. Nobody attempts the peak because the weather changes so fast. And he was carrying 2 oxygen cylinder. He thought, why to carry 2 unnecessarily? He threw one and started going back. Sherpa went running, got the oxygen cylinder. Arunima, who was on the verge of death, he gave her the oxygen and told, you are so lucky. Was it luck? Or was it personal power? Arunima Sinha was given a choice to go back when the oxygen cylinder was over. But she chose, she kept on her faith. She told, I knew this somewhere in my heart of my heart that 2 years back on that railway track, if I did not die, I am not going to die here in Mount Everest. Almost impossible place of getting oxygen, and Arunima Sinha gets the oxygen exactly the time needed. This is what happens for the people who are in the faith, deep faith. Of course, next thing is purpose. Now I am not going to talk much about it because already has been spoken. Even the last time when I came, you are as powerful as your purpose. You are as powerful as your purpose. If the purpose is tiny, small, the power is small. If the purpose is huge, big, then some unknown possibilities within you which are hiding will come up. What does the sage Patanjali says about it? Just going to read it, please pay attention, it's very important. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitation. Your consciousness expands in every direction. And you find yourself in a new, great and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties and talents become alive. And you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. This is the discovery. When we have a right purpose, a bigger purpose, and purpose has to be right. What's the definition of success? Progressive realization of worthy goals. Worthy, please underline worthy. Next Friday, tomorrow is Friday, first day, first show, my favorite hero, I am going to see it. That's not a worthy goal. You may be successful, but it's not called success because the goal is not worthy. Anytime we need a worthy goal to call it a success. Success is progressive realization of worthy goals. We must set purpose which is high. We should not sell ourselves too cheap. I tell you this true story which happened around 7-8 years back. True. Nothing is wrong in this. Nothing is imaginary. Around 8 years back, I got down from the train from Secunderabad railway station. I live in Hyderabad, so Secunderabad is like one city. When I came out, I was looking for the auto. Normally, auto people there, they refuse to go by meter. And I have a principle, I go only by meter. Often I have to wait for long to find out. Here I found a Sardarji, a very charming man. Am I clearly audible or is it on off? It's okay, right. So the Sardarji, he says, sir, come, we'll go by meter, let's I did not even ask him. He told me, come, we'll go by meter. I told, okay, good. And my luggage was there. I had 2-3 suitcases. His auto was about, let's say, 25-30 meter away. And he told, sir, wo rahi apni gaddi, jaake baith jao, main saman leke aata hu. I told, surprising. How come auto fellow himself is, attending to your luggage? He got it. So it was a pleasant surprise. He got my luggage, put it into the auto, and throughout the way, he was talking. Very charming man. There are few people who, develop this connection so easily. You can remember them very easily. And I can still see his face. It's so clear. That man was something extraordinary. He was talking very nice things, and I arrived at my home, and the meter suggested 87 rupees. Now it's taken, I don't know how it is here in Mangalore. Maybe the auto drivers are also very good here. But there, if you give 87 rupees, means they will hope that you give him 100 rupees and you don't ask for the change. So I paid him 100. Promptly he gave me back 13 rupees. 10 rupees some people would give, but 13 rupees was too much for me. I thought, like, how this guy is giving me the exact money and is not even asking. The meter is also perfect. He dropped me. And I told, thank you Sardar ji, बहुत अच्छा लगा आपके साथ. And Sardar ji told, आपका flat कौन से floor पे है? I told 5th floor. He told, where is the lift? I told, there. So lift was little far. It's a huge complex, so very far. So he told, wait sir, I will drop your luggage in the lift. This was too much for me. One auto fellow doing so much, you do not expect. I was so happy with him. So I got out a 50 rupee note in the lift and I told, Sardar ji, you are doing a great job. Please keep it. I am just giving you, I love your work. You served me really nicely. You know what he told me? He told me, sir, पैसे के लिए तो सिर्फ पैसे के लिए तो भिखारी भी काम करता है. सिर्फ पैसे के लिए तो भिखारी भी काम करता है. मैं सिर्फ पैसे के लिए काम नहीं करता. And then he told, I'll just translate into English. Some of you may not understand. He told, for only money, even a beggar works. I don't work for only money. And then he told, you will forget me if I take this 50 rupee. I am very happy. You are a good customer. I am very happy. I don't need anything. The man knew that he doesn't have to sell himself too cheap only for money. If we are all started looking the purpose of degree, the college, all that is only money, we are literally selling ourselves too cheap. Long back, when businessman told me, कितना कमा लेते हो? And I was doing a corporate job, so I told this amount. He told, उसके लिए डॉक्टर क्यों बने? I told, what do you mean? He told, I am 5th fail. I am earning 10 times more than you. Why did you become a doctor for that? It's a question to be thought about. If we are thinking our education is just for money, we are really selling ourselves too cheap. We are not finding something more behind it. That's why the purpose, the concept of purpose. The auto fellow had the dignity of work. He took pride in his work. He told, I am not doing only for money, and he literally banged it. He told correctly, सिर्फ पैसे के लिए तो only भिखारी works. The beggar in fact works only for money, nothing else. And if we are doing our work, whatever we are doing only for money, then our purpose is so small. And if our purpose is so small, our personal power is nil. It's going to be zero. We are as powerful as our purpose. So we have to find out a bigger purpose. Something little bigger. Whoever you have seen, all the great people whose names Swamiji has mentioned, all those, whether it's the librarian, the mountain man, the forest man, all those people you see, why they are so powerful? Their purpose was bigger. They did not confine this human life just to me, myself, my family. That's it. We have to stretch our boundaries. Next thing, inclusiveness. 3 days back, me and Swamiji, Bhutmayananda ji, we were there in a session, and I taken the session for a couple of MBA students, and a couple of colleges were there. So I gave an example about, let's say somebody wants to become IAS, then first he should change his environment and he should make it full of IAS people. He should meet IAS people, he should read things related to IAS. So it's about aligning your environment and your purpose. That was the point I was making. So I made that point. Then during the Q&A session, one student got up and I asked, sir, you told me that if I want to become an IAS officer, I should go and befriend those people who are trying or who are competing in the same exam. Then will it not be that he will become my competitor? Why should I work with him? Because we are competing with the same people, and why should I work with him? This is what is called exclusiveness. Only me. Nobody else should do. And also if you think about personal power, again there is sense of contradiction. Why inclusiveness if you are calling about personal power? It should be me everywhere. No, it's not me. In fact, a person does me only when he is too much scared. Only when you are having that insecurity inside. What if that guy takes away? What if that guy gets more, what I can say, credit than me? And everywhere we want to limit it to me. No limit how much a human being can achieve if he just forgets who gets the credit. So inclusiveness is very, very important. You found this mission who is doing, Ramakrishna Mission doing great job. Any spiritual organization doing great job. Why they are doing great job? Because there is no me in that. It's always inclusiveness for the society. And the moment your direction of thinking moved little bigger than me, inclusive for everyone, you've grown your personal power. Google says, go open. Open always wins. That is one of the principles of Google. Why Google has beaten everyone? Because its principle is go open. Not just confined in the shell, everything, my property rights, this, I'll hide. No. Make everything open, they say. Include everyone. More and more people you include in your life towards your purpose, the more and more power you get actually. So it's a simple principle. Bring inclusiveness in your life. Don't go alone. Go together. In African countries, there is a proverb. The proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So you have to think, somewhere am I becoming little exclusive? And exclusiveness is typically Western thought process. Inclusiveness is typically Indian thought process. Spirituality, the Atma of India, Vivekananda told is spirituality. And spirituality in sense is inclusiveness. Even the nature is part here. It is inclusive, all inclusive. We exclude nothing. We take care of everything. We are not thinking only me, my life, nothing mine, everything, society. And once you take that perspective, you will suddenly find a person who is not getting the fund for his venture, just think inclusive, you will find the fund. Probably you are thinking too much, whole thing should be with me, whole 1 crore should be with me, rather than making it, in management they say make the pie big, rather than thinking of 1 crore, keeping it all, think of 100 crore and keep 10% of it, you still have more. But for that you need to have that inclusiveness. If you don't have that idea of inclusiveness, you will miss this. All those people who have achieved greatness, something really humongous, have always followed this idea consciously that I have to be inclusive. I don't have to exclude anyone. Next principle, be the act and not an actor. What do I mean here? Be the act and not an actor. It's about involvement. It's not about self-ego. I did it. It's about the involvement. Be the act, not an actor. Again, I'm going to share this true incident. Few years back, I was in a flight from Ahmedabad to Hyderabad. I met a very rich guy sitting next to me. He's a Gujarati industrialist, multi-millionaire, very, very rich. So we got into a conversation, started asking some questions, some philosophy and all that. So I asked him a question. You have so many industries, you have so much work, you are handling so many things. How do you handle this pressure? He told me one wonderful example. He told, and Gujarati people, their typical way of saying, so he told it really nice. He told, I have no tension. I have played just one trick. I have a very, very strong partner who is very, very influential, very powerful. And whole business, it is actually his. I just work as a partner. And he is so influential, so powerful that all my things happen so easily. In fact, this is in reality one of my friends in Mumbai. They told, I don't know I should share this or not, they told me they give a 5% partnership in all their ventures, they are real estate guys, to Thakres. Without any, Thakres don't give them anything, but they give 5% to them. I told why? He told once we tell this is Thakres project, everywhere files move so fast. I don't have to do anything. It's a management principle, see. They have got an influential partner. So this Gujarati man told I have a very influential partner, and what I do is every morning I go with my task list and I task them about that this is what is my to-do list for today, I am going to do it, and he says okay, and I go back and I do my work, and evening I get back with that list and I talk to him and I just present what I have done, what I could do, what I could not, and once that is done I sleep. I don't think about my business after that. So I was so interested, who is this partner? Maybe some big politician, somebody he must be knowing. So I asked him, who is this partner? You know what he told? Krishna. Lord Krishna. He told, I have a statue of Krishna Bhagwan in my temple, and he is the official 10% partner in my business. All the profit, officially 10% I give it to Krishna, and like donations and things like that. And he said, see, this is a perspective. Now we may laugh. What a funny thing. But this is a perspective. He has not remained actor in his business. He has become the act. He is telling, I am doing God's act. God is making me do. That's the perspective he has got in. He has got a third person perspective, and what is huge. And he was committed to it. He told 100 crore or 500 crore or 1000 crore, I don't care. 10% is 10%, I give it freely. He is committed to it. And his business is going on so, and he says, even if I occur losses, it's his, it's not mine. He has given, he will take, it's his business, I am just working. This is the perspective. Indian tradition, we have our own ways to handle the pressure. In the life, everybody gets hit. Everybody, nobody's life is there which has gone smooth. We have to develop our own mechanism to deal with these pressures, these challenges. Gujarati businessman had his own mechanism. His mechanism was Krishna, my partner. Vivekananda's mechanism was my guru, Sri Ramakrishna. Anything happens, Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna will help him miraculously. See, if you bring the right perspective, Sri Ramakrishna's mechanism was Kalima. What everybody saw in Kalima's statue, Sri Ramakrishna saw God. And he was talking. And he got self-realized in that. So it's the perspective. You have to bring this, that I am not the actor at all. Just take out that part that I am the actor. Because what happens with that? That fear of failure, what Swamiji dealt in the pre-lunch session, that comes because one of the reason is we think we are the actor. How many of you, tell me this very, very honestly, how many of you think your English should have improved and it has not improved the way it should? Come on, raise your hands. See, so many. In Hyderabad also, I find so many hands. People struggling with English. Language, speaking I am saying, speaking. I am not asking scholarly English work. Speaking one language. Our youth is struggling till post-graduation. My son is today 3-year-old and he speaks fluent Hindi. I was thinking till 1 year he did not speak anything. In 2 years this guy has picked up a language like Hindi. He did not come anything learned inside, womb of the mother. He learned everything in 2 years. And he can speak decent Hindi. Then what is this which is making it so difficult for youth to pick up one language? And people are suffering. And this is $1 million industry. Just teach English. $1 million industry. Why? Because of this ego. As a kid we did not have this ego. Who is laughing and who is not at my language? So we committed mistake, no problem, and we learned from the mistake, and we did not slow down the process of learning. But when you are adult, you have that king size ego. It's like your ego comes first, then you come. How dare he laughed at my English? And that will hurt so deep that you will not even open up. So you go to a group, let's say you go to a party and you find out there all the people speaking nice, swanky, good English, very sophisticated English, you start feeling threatened. My God, there everybody is speaking so polished English, my English is not polished, what should I do now? So you know, if you are too conscious of your image, what do? You immediately, your eyes start looking at those people who are like you. And all that group, they get together, Mana Karnataka, they sit together and they start making a comfort zone. Now when I am not ready to expose myself to the challenges, when I am not ready to go out of the comfort zone, when I am more interested in protecting my ego, then what should I actually achieve? Then how will I grow? I have stopped my growth because I am too much bothered about what people talk about me. And this is what is about this. Don't be the actor, become the act. People laugh at your mistakes, not at you. You are thinking they are laughing at you. No, they are not laughing at you. They are laughing at your mistakes. And the mechanism to success is the mechanism to first fail, then success, fail, then success, fail, then success. Nobody succeeds in one go. All those people who are not fearful of trying, basically they have devised this mechanism of dealing with their ego. The salesman who says that 10 people have rejected my product, so I will not go to 11th, he has failed because he has taken it personally. He thinks I am a failure and that's why he fails. Those salespeople who fail more, they often succeed more because they have the ability to take more no's, and which gives them ability to give more yeses. Because they don't stop on 10 people, they go to 12, they go to 15, they go to 100 and they convert. This will come to you only if you can handle your ego. And I am not just preaching, at least on this point I can say I have gone through the same. Don't think I have come from some convent school. Throughout my whole school education, till MBBS, before MBBS, I have never ever studied in an English medium. Even my entrance was in pure Hindi medium. I have never spoken to anyone in English before my MBBS. And in my MBBS, my first 2 months, my challenge was only one challenge I had, because my subjects were good, but challenge was English. The moment I stood up in the class, everybody laughed. Because my pronunciation was horrible, my English was really pathetic, I used to think a lot before talking, there was no grammar. Writing fine, I got distinction in my +2. But speaking is a different thing. It's a skill. And which comes, and then I started thinking how to build this up. Because lot of you can connect with this, I am just taking little more time in this. And I thought, what is that which is not letting me speak? I attended a course, spoken English course, and they were teaching me their tenses, active voice, passive voice. I told, Arey Baba, I have done this all, I don't need this. And then I thought, I must figure out my own way. And the way was simple. I just thought, how did I learn Hindi? I am going to pick up the same way and learn English. And then it was very simple. Hindi I learned by looking at people. What my brother spoke, what my sister spoke, what my elders spoke, I just looked at them, copied. I told, come on, copy. Nothing. So I met all my friends who were good in speaking English, and I told them, laugh at me as much as you want, no problem. My 100-day agenda is English, not biochemistry, anatomy and physiology, but English, speaking English. And I started talking with them. I started literally copying. Not only what they said, even how they said. Pronunciation, everything. Whosever thing appealed more to me, I just copied. Because I thought that is how I learned Hindi. And you won't believe, in 15 days, because there are very few sentences actually on day-to-day conversation you need to learn. Not many. But you need to break open from this comfort zone. Nobody should laugh when I speak. Why will they not laugh? They will laugh if you have not learned. So I just gave myself that freedom. People laughed at me. Of course, there were points when I just stood up and everybody laughed in the class. But in 15 days, I became more and more confident. And then there came few comments. Within 2 weeks, people started telling, Vivek, your English has improved. And that's it. You need only that much. Once somebody recognizes you have done something, fast mode now. You learn even faster, even faster. Within a month, I was more than comfortable. I started taking classes for the same audience, the same people. You know. And since then, you see, I have been doing these things. And today I have been going all over India, talking to all sort of people, scientists, CEOs, all top-notch people. Why? You tell me to write, even today, I need a computer. Huh? Otherwise, I need that special spell check. It won't happen otherwise. but speaking, no problem. It happens. So the point here is, please become an actor, not an actor. Just get yourself out of your growth. Sometimes we are the biggest roadblock in our growth. We are too much in protecting our image, and that is the biggest roadblock, nothing else. If we just get out of our own way, it will happen. Just let it happen, flow. Next. Yeah. What do you understand by this? Now I am not asking who is he. What do you understand by this? Yes. All of us, somewhere in the society, we carry two identity. One when we are alone, and one when we are among. Now human we all will have our fallacies. I am not saying we will just become like Buddha and be natural. It is not possible. But let's reduce the split. Let's face the truth. Here the next principle is, let's face the truth. The moment we go away from the reality, the moment we reject the truth, we are rejecting our growth. And lot of these stress management seminars goes, you know what is the biggest reason of stress? There may be so many scientific reasons, but I feel the biggest reason of stress is going away from your own truth. The larger the split between who you really are and whom you want to be, or how you want to be looked like by the world, the larger the split, the more the burden you are carrying. You have created an image in the world. This is how I should be perceived. And for that, maybe you have gone away from the truth. But in reality, you are lacking all those qualities. Now you are carrying that burden. And what happened with this burden? Have you ever eaten this Parle-G biscuit with tea? It's tea time, no? So let me talk about tea. So sometimes what happens, you are eating, let's say, you dip the biscuit in the tea and eat, right? If you have ever done this, if you have not tried, so you dip it and eat. So let's say you are dipping it in and a call comes and you are attending the call and you kept it little longer. What happens? When you take it out, there is no biscuit. You know, the front part which was in the tea has gone. Now some people, what they do is, that biscuit is inside, there is no spoon, so they take another biscuit. And they want to bring out that biscuit with this biscuit. And in the process, they lose this biscuit also. Happens or not? Has it ever happened or not? This is what happens with this. If we do not face truth, if we are not ready to face truth, if we are living this split life, and if we try to protect it too much, we just keep on increasing the split. What we are in reality, what we want to look. What we are in reality, what we want to look. Huge gap. You will find so many people who were big personalities, who were really cheered by the people, who were icons for many, and they ended up in suiciding because they just couldn't handle the split. They were something completely different in isolation and completely different when they were. And that's why if we want this personal power, then we have to just hold this thing, that just confess certain things and don't try to be something else which you are not. You are not comfortable in Western clothes, but your friends want you to be. You are not comfortable eating with spoon and fork, but everybody is eating with spoon and fork. So you try to be something which you are not. Anything it could be. Why was Gandhiji having that much power that whole nation went behind him? Was he the bodybuilder? Was he the best speaker? No. Only one thing. You read his book, My Experiments with Truth, only the one thing. He experimented with truth. As a child, he did all the mistakes. Probably his childhood was worse than many of us. And he committed the mistake. But the biggest victory was he had the courage to take a pen and write a letter to his father and confess everything. He got in touch with reality. He faced the truth. That is the most powerful thing a person can have. The more nearer you are to truth, the more powerful you feel. All of us have lied sometimes to our parents, our teachers, to some or other. All of us have done it. If you are a human being, we do it. Try this once. And I am not just preaching, I have done it again, I am saying. Try this once. To your near and dear one, go and confess one mistake which you have been hiding. It is so difficult, but do it. And tell me, how do you feel after doing it? Just tell me after 2 hours of that, how do you feel? You feel relieved. You feel a lot more powerful than what you were earlier. The more you are in touch with reality, the more powerful you become. You are not scared of anyone because you are not hidden anything. Nobody can scare you. So I will not, because the time doesn't permit me, I will keep it short again. The point here is towards reducing our split, facing the truth. The more and more close to truth we come, our power directly increases. The more or more away we go from the truthfulness, we become weaker. Even though in the world, have you seen that movie called Namak Halal, Amitabh Bachchan's? Anybody has seen that scene where Amitabh Bachchan is drunk and he is talking to himself? I use these movie examples because youth connect better with it. See, there is a scene. Amitabh is a young angry man in that character. Vijay probably, that's what his name used to be. And he is now very, very angry with himself because when he was drunk, some goons have hit him. And now he says, see, I told you don't drink. He is talking to himself, looking to the mirror. I told you don't drink. Why did you drink? You became weak. You can hit 10 people now. See what they have made out of you. And he shows all his injuries to himself. Okay. And then he says, now I am going to treat it. And it's going to pain. But you deserve this pain. So I am going to apply this Dettol and all that. Now he is looking into the mirror and he starts applying Dettol and everything. Okay. And he does. And morning what he finds? All the Dettol mark on the mirror. He has tried to correct that mirror. He has put his Dettol on the mirror, not on his wounds. Indirectly we do that. We try to protect our image. We try to correct our image ourselves. If we don't correct ourselves, the problem still exists. The power reduces. We do not get our true power by making image, but only by becoming ourselves better and better. So reduce the gap. What does it say? A bird sitting on the trees is never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not on the branches but on its own wing. So if you think you are not getting job, if you think this college, that college, if that is the issue, I am not from this background, my father is not rich and all that. Actually these are all things which really doesn't matter much in your success. Your success will matter in what is your inner power, your personal power. The more and more personal power you hold, the more and more free you become. Then you are not scared of any job cuts. Then you are not scared of anything. What did Abdul Kalam had? His father was what? Boatman. Not a very rich guy, not very highly educated, came from a small town, went to not convent school, government school, local language medium, yet he achieved everything what this country can give, from Bharat Ratna to one of the biggest scientists to the author to poet, what not he has done, all because of his personal power. Vivekananda went there, he had nothing, no qualification. When he went to Chicago, people asked, who are you, what's your qualification? In the Boston he was seeking to speak in World Parliament of Religion. No qualification, nothing. But what was it? It is personal power. Professor Henry Wright meets him and interacts with him, and he writes a recommendation letter, and he says to asking qualification to this man would be like asking the sun to state its right to shine. Just after interaction with Swami Vivekananda, not a degree, but his interaction, his personal power won him that place. So once again friends,